Okay, last question for today, docs. Dear Dave, I think I fucked up big time.
Hey, we need the delay. Beep.
Yeah, I desperately need docs help. I'm 37 years old and I have been taking testosterone supplement for the last 5 years. Sometimes I mix it with Trembolone, sometimes with Deca. My problem is that I can't keep an erection. You are, yeah, I'd say just like you said. I stopped everything and now I'm feeling like shit, anxious and depressed. It's killing me. I know you might receive these types of email all the time, but I desperately need an advice from the doc. I'm attaching 2 blood tests, which I forgot to print. I've done recently. Can you show them to the doc and tell them what I should do? I lost all my libido. I'm feeling like crap. Thank you.
Well, you got two things working against you. And by the way, we were laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah.
Because, it does happen a lot. It happens when people do two things. One, and I don't know if it's around anymore, but back in the day, they had Phenoject.
Yeah.
As well as Decadurabolin, and there were terms, forgive me, but it's what we used to use. We call it Phenodic or Decadic, and it meant, it was referring to the results you get, which this gentleman was experiencing. I guess now they call it Trendic instead of the others, but a lot of guys do complain about having issues with erectile function when they're using these esters. And the first thing I would say is, well, and I've seen this, you get off these things, and depending on the dose you were using, obviously, and your individual receptivity to it, within 2 to 3 weeks, everything should have cleared. But you had a double whammy going. You've gone from using something, and I don't know, did he say how long he was using or anything like that?
5 months.
5 months. So you definitely suppressed your own production. And then you went off cold turkey, I assume, or even, you're off now. Yeah. So now you've got, suboptimal levels, certainly, and you're waiting for your own production to kick in. So you've got a double whammy. I wouldn't sweat it. I know it's not the most comforting thing I could give you to say just let time run its course. But one thing you could do, if you're hypogonadal, I don't know why you wouldn't want to get back on the testosterone at least and just avoid the things that, we know these things have side effects. Maybe, that's not made clear enough. I don't know. I know a lot of people that will utilize these things. For example, again, for HIV, there are a few things that will pack muscle on, or any wasting disorder, not just HIV, but a few things that will pack muscle on better than nandrolone, decadurabolin, as we used to call it. But one of the side effects is because it's a NOR19 and it can make, anyway, without the technical stuff, it can make for erectile dysfunction. So we jigger it so that we find a balance. And typically, if you use a 1-to-1 ratio of testosterone to decadurabolin, you won't have the erectile dysfunction. If it still presents itself, well, what do? We up the testosterone to a 2-to-1 ratio, and then I've never seen it be a problem after that. But again, everyone's different. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's the biggest fear, is that he thinks it's permanent. No, this is normal for the drugs you selected. You could have selected worse ones. I don't know of any worse ones. The 3 we just mentioned are the ones that, that's the classic. So restore your natural levels of T, or restore your optimal levels of T, whether it's naturally or, if you're already on hormone replacement therapy, get back on, because that's not the problem. It's the other drugs of choice that are the problem. And just, if you're going to use those in the future, don't use 2 of them together unless you realize, that you have to work out the ratio that works for you. And I would gradually up your dosage of those, obviously, to see what happens when you do so, because there will be a lag, and as you're experiencing. But that's the take-home message, is that just wait it out, and you should, it'll come back. Good. I've never seen it be permanent.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that. Thanks, Doc. Hey guys, really enjoying your series and find them really helpful. Directly on the question, I am wondering what the doc thinks of intramuscular versus subcutaneous injecting of steroids for bodybuilding purposes. I read a lot of topics these days defending both ways. Just wondering what you think, and have a nice day.
Well, I haven't seen anything but I like to call them bad haircuts from using subcutaneous dosages. Well, it reminds me of that ad. We fix bad haircuts. The $8 haircuts. We fix them here for the $25 or whatever.
Yeah.
I understand the rationale behind it is you're not giving yourself an intramuscular injection, so it's less invasive because you're only going subcutaneously. Presumably, aren't you saving money because you don't need as much or as frequent an injection? I've heard these arguments.
All right.
But what I have seen are abscesses. I've seen people that are using the exact same dose, okay, that they would use. I don't mean like, okay, we're doing it once a week intramuscular, but they're using the equivalent of, say, 1 cc of testosterone cypionate, dividing it up over 7 days with the subcutaneous, and have had, I don't know what the worst would be, but certainly erectile dysfunction is no fun and just didn't feel well. Didn't feel the same pop that they expect to feel from properly dosed testosterone replacement therapy. So I personally have only seen bad things. Now I have peers out there. Dr. Justin Saya is one of them. Over in Florida, who I believe he'll tell you that he has had good experience with the subcutaneous injections. I don't want to speak for him, but he's another expert in the field, and I don't think he's got any complaints for it. So I don't know the answer. I know that it's sort of the new thing on the block, and there's a general adage in medicine: don't be the first. But I've seen some guys who have had erectile dysfunction. I've seen 2 that I had to deal with an abscess.
I could see that.
And the thing about injecting, the invasiveness of it, in my experience, my opinion, at least. The jab of the needle through the skin is the part that hurts. Whether you go then 5/16 of an inch or an inch or an inch and a half sub to that, particularly if you do it properly, like in an area, the upper outer quadrant of the cheek, the butt cheek, you're not going to feel that. So if it's saving that pain, and I realize a lot of pain is mental.
It's the fear, yeah.
Then I would definitely recommend using the intramuscular. It's been around for a long time. It's proven less likely to have a problem. Now, I was paying attention. I realized that he asked steroids, anabolic steroids, right, as opposed to testosterone cypionate. So it opens up the discussion, because I've seen some horrendous abscesses when guys were using, or actually the one I'm thinking of right now is a gal who was using stanozolol or Winstrol, which is a suspension.
Yeah.
And it made a huge pocket, and it was filled with pus when I drained it.
Horrible.
So, that's one of those cases where, there's so many individual differences and, of course, sub-questions to that one. But in general, stick with what works. And, I don't want to argue with someone about their pain. They say, hey, no, wait, sub-Q is way better than intramuscular. I get you. But maybe if I could throw that out there and they go, well, yeah, now that I'm really noticing, I don't really feel it. Once I pierce the skin, if I go any further in with a needle, I can convince them to use intramuscular. Again, only because in my experience, I've not seen any problems, or not nearly the kind of problems I see in intramuscular injection with that I do with subcutaneous injection. But again, keep me posted on your own experiences, because we might find it's a better way.
Yeah.